Good morning, guys. So things in Portugal here have changed rather rapidly. I was logged on to the UK government's website about travel news, and I got an email update yesterday saying that the Portuguese have decided that they're going to shut all the campsites and all the motorhome airs and all the motorhome services, so that gives us less options for places to go. Now that came into effect yesterday on the 22nd of March, and they've given everybody basically 5 days until the 27th of March in which to exit the country. So we really haven't got any options. If we stay here, we are just going to be, putting ourselves at a massive risk of being arrested by the police or put into quarantine or anything like that. So I think we've got to just take the initiative to go home. As much as I don't really like the current situation in the UK because people are being so daft, we haven't got any choice. So I've booked a ferry crossing because at the moment I can't get a tunnel crossing. I would have preferred to go on the tunnel, but speaking to Eurotunnel, they've closed all of the slots right up until the 20th of May, so that's a month's time from now, because what they're doing is people have already got tickets for return tickets. They're giving them priority over people who haven't got a ticket at all. So I haven't been able to book a ticket on the tunnel, but I have been able to book a ferry. So we're right down in the bottom of Portugal at the moment. We're right at Sagres. We couldn't be any further away. We're 1,850 kilometres away from the ferry crossing. So it's going to be at least a 3-day trek to do it comfortably, not go mad. So the first leg of the journey is to get to the north of Portugal. I still feel very safe in Portugal, and I know I've got a safe place to park in the north of Portugal. So we've got about 700 kilometres, 7 or 8 hour drive to get to the north of Portugal. We'll stay overnight there, and then the following day we'll scoot across Spain, and my plan is to go from Portugal straight into France, straight across Spain. I'm going to cross both borders. I'm not stopping in Spain. We will stay in the van, we won't be getting out, and I want to drive right through Spain into France. And then I've got hopefully another little remote park up in the mountains in France, so tucked away out of anywhere. I don't want to come into contact with anybody, as little as possible, because I know we're okay. We'll do another overnight in the south of France, and then the following day we will then trundle up north, and Thursday I've got our ferry booked for the ferry home. So we've got a full tank of diesel. We've just made some food and provisions for the journey, so we don't need to get out of the van. If we need to go to the toilet, we can just pull over, go to the toilet in the van. We don't need to come into contact with anybody. I've got paperwork to say that's what we're doing, so if we do get stopped by the police on our way, we're all covered. So it's going to be a 3-day journey to get back to the UK. So come with us on this trip. I'll keep you posted how we're getting on all the way back. So this has been our last park up in Portugal. We were hoping that we would be able to stay here for a little while and sort of ride out the storm a little bit, and for a couple of days and see how things panned out. We thought we were very safe down here in the Algarve because there's still only a handful of cases. It's still in the 20s, which is really, really good, and Portugal really have got a grip on it. They've basically declared a national emergency, and everybody's indoors. There's no movement unless it's absolutely essential. As you can see, there's a few vans parked around here. Everybody's kept their distance from each other. They've stayed inside their vans. But obviously these guys now, I think they will have to move on. This is not a designated area. This is just a campsite at the fortress at Sagres, but it's a recognised place that people do camp and stay here. I mean, this is the least amount of vans I've ever seen here. Normally there's 50 or 60 vans here. But these guys will no doubt get the word, and I'm sure that they will have to move on as well. I'm surprised we haven't seen the GNR around here just letting everybody know that they've got to go home. But we've got a few other British guys with us. We're going to travel in convoy. just safety in numbers more than anything else, and look after each other. We're still with Sue and Paul Brown, their van, Esme van, and we're still with Debs and Martin of We're Away. So we're going to travel up with these guys, and we're going to stop in the airs with these guys and just look after each other and make sure we get back to the UK safe. So we go, what better way to start the day than a nice big bowl of fresh fruit salad. Got some local oranges, bananas and nectarines. That'll boost the old immune system. So guys, this is Sue and Paul Brown. I think you need to tell everybody why we call you Paul Brown.
Basically back home there was just too many Pauls. My son's friends were called Paul, the neighbours called Paul, so they get all out of all that.
Yeah, we talked about Paul and nobody knew who Paul was, so he became Paul Brown.
Yeah, so it just stops, so everybody now calls me Paul Brown.
Yeah.
That's the take on it.
Now that we've got to leave Portugal and go home, what are your sort of thoughts and feelings about that?
Gutted, absolutely gutted. I mean, I can understand why they're doing it, closing the caravan parks and the airs and everything. I don't think it's been explained particularly well, because we went into a little bit of panic mode last night. But we just don't want to come home because we're having a good time. We feel that we're safe here. Yeah. We're self-isolating. We're away from everybody. Everybody here is taking it really seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas I'm worried that at home they haven't got to that stage yet.
No.
And like with Paul having underlying heart condition, it's just worrying about him going home.
Yeah, I feel the same. It's you know, going back to the UK, we're kind of putting ourselves at more risk, aren't we? Oh, the journey apart from anything else, and then being back there as well. I mean, there's plenty of provisions here still.
Yeah.
People are being really sensible about it, and it's, from what we've seen on the news, it's just not the same back home, is
panic
it?
buying,
No.
no issues here.
Yeah.
All there.
Yeah. And it's knowing when we'll be able to come out again or to go anywhere again. So I think we woke up this morning and we were quite depressed about it.
Yeah, because I think this is a long haul thing now, and I can't see us wrapping this up. Well, could be a year. I don't know.
A year.
A year, yeah.
A year, yeah. Yeah, it could be a year. But our spirits are up, you know. That's because we're British.
Right, so we're here with Martin and Debs of We're Away. Obviously we gave you guys the news last night that we've got to go home back to the UK, so what are your sort of initial thoughts and how do you feel about that?
Gutted. Stop me jolly pops.
Yeah, they're just doing it to protect themselves, and I think it's right, really. So
the UK should be doing the same.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we've said. It doesn't seem to be under control as much back home as it is here. Everybody's really doing their part over here, aren't they?
Yeah.
And we feel as though we're safer here with your condition as well.
If need be, if we've been told to go, then obviously we've got to go.
Yeah. It's a bit frightening, really, to think what we're coming back to.
Yeah. Have you guys been able to book a crossing yet, or?
Not yet, but we've got to wait 24 hours anyway because we've got to get a tablet for Molly.
Yeah, we've got to do a worming thing.
We're a worming, so we've got to get her passport and all that up to date before we can get off and travelling.
I believe that Sue was saying this morning that the tunnel may allow you to have a tunnel crossing because they've just taken the bookings off the website for the moment. But I believe there's availability if you give them a ring, you may be able to get on the tunnel.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
That's what we're going to do. I'll just turn up, and if they haven't got anything, we'll just head off to the ferry and see what we can get.
Yeah. But if we have to use the ferry, I mean the tunnel's first choice, obviously. But if we have to use the ferry, we'll be going from Dunkirk. So that's our favourite spot.
All right, all the best, guys.
Yeah, and you.
And you.
So I feel a little bit sad that we're having to leave Portugal a little bit earlier than planned, but I think it's the right thing to do considering what's going on. We're just going to drive back on the toll road, so we're not going to hang around. We're going to get back as quickly and as safely as possible. But at the moment, there's absolutely nobody about. We might see the odd car, but that's it. You can't physically see anybody walking around at all, which is how it needs to be. You know, we need to get this thing under control. Everybody needs to stay at home for as long as possible until we've got a grip on this. So we've got about 600 kilometres to get to our first overnight stop. And what I've decided to do is I'm going to put these up as daily updates. So when we get to our park up, I'll edit this, upload it, and then you can follow and track our journey on the way back as well. Kind of almost live, but we'll give you a daily update of how we're getting on our trip back to the UK. It's a shame that the weather's just taken a turn for the better as well. So glorious sunshine out there at the moment. It's forecast for a few days of really good weather for the next few days, which is a shame, but there you go, you can't have everything. We're all safe and sound, and that's the main thing. So let me just explain a little bit about the route that we're going to take. Now currently, looking at the statistics, Portugal is still by far the best place to be. So we're going to travel all the way up to the north of Portugal so we can stay in this country as long as possible on this journey. Spain has got a really bad outbreak. So it's going to take us about 6 or 7 hours to get to the north of Portugal. I think by then, realistically, we need an overnight stop. So we've got a really good, safe, secure place to stay. And then the second day, we're going to literally drive through Spain. Because of the outbreak there is quite bad, I don't want to be stopping there unnecessarily. So in one trip, we're going to go from the north of Portugal back into the south of France. And then we found another little spot. We've parked there before. I think it's just, you know, not far up in the Alps, just across the border into France. It's an air there, motorway sort of services. There's a petrol station there if we need to top up with diesel. So we're going to use that one hopefully as another overnight stop. Third day, because that's about another 7 hours to do that crossing through Spain. And then the third day we'll be driving up through France, back towards the ferry or the Channel port. And then I think we'll do one last stop at the ferry or the Channel port or somewhere local there hopefully before embarking onto the ferry to get home. So that's going to be our route. Just got to get a toll ticket. So for any of you guys that are still out in Europe, you may be in a different country to us, how I found out about what's happening in Portugal so quickly is because I was subscribed to the UK government's website for travel information. I'll put the link on the screen here now, and I'll also put the link in the description. So if you go to the UK government's website, enter your email address for the country that you're travelling in, and if there's any updates to the travel news for that particular country, you'll get an email notification. I got an email notification yesterday, which is how we knew that they were closing all the campsites and the motorhome parking areas. So if you're travelling around Europe, make sure you click on those links, get your email registered with them, and then you'll be kept up to date. So after about 650 kilometres or thereabouts, or maybe just under 700 kilometres, All the guys have made it to the north of Portugal. We're all parked up here. There's 5 of us in a convoy here. We did get split up during the day into 2 and 3, but we managed to meet back up here. I can't disclose this location, but we're really safe and secure here. All the guys are just in their vans, just having a bite to eat now. I think we left at about 9:30 this morning and arrived here shortly after 5 o'clock, so about 7.5 hours of travelling today with a short stop for lunch. But everybody's safe and sound, and then tomorrow morning early we'll make the start and head through Spain. So just to complicate things a little bit more, this afternoon on the drive back up to the north of Portugal, I've had an email from DFDS to say that there was a technical issue with my booking, and they've now cancelled the booking and refunded the payment that I've already made. So that's really nice of them, because now I've been back onto the ferry website and there's no crossings for the foreseeable future. So we've jumped back onto Eurotunnel, although I did notice there weren't any available until the 20th of April. I think I said May earlier, but it's actually April, so a month's time. But fortunately Lou just jumped on there a second ago, and it looks like they've released all of the trains for booking again. So we've actually managed to get a tunnel booking for this Thursday at 5:20. So we're actually on the same tunnel crossing as Sue and Paul Brown, which is a bit of a result, because I'd much rather be on the tunnel crossing, to be honest, than be on the ferry, because obviously if you're on the ferry you've got to get out of your vehicle and you've got to mingle with all the other passengers, which I really don't want to be doing at this time. So being on the tunnel is a bit of a result, because we can stay in the van, we don't have to get out, we can just literally drive through about 35 minutes and we're across and back into the UK. So a little bit of stress this afternoon, but it's actually turned out for the better. So guys, that's the end of the first day's travel. Please excuse the poor light. Everyone's settling down to go to bed now. I'm just finishing off the edit of this video so I can get it uploaded for you in the morning. We've also just watched the announcement by Boris Johnson from the UK. We watched it over the internet, and I really must stress, please guys, do your bit. Please stay at home, don't go out unless it's absolutely essential. You know, it's critical that we get on top of this thing. Tomorrow's going to be a tougher day. We've got those 2 border crossings to do tomorrow, so make sure that you tune in tomorrow and catch up with our movements as we head back to the UK. Please keep yourself safe guys, and we'll see you on tomorrow's video.